Hi there, it's me. I hope you are doing great. I have been asked by one of the commenters a few days ago to make a Ramadan card. While this task seemed really interesting, I realized I absolutely had no supplies, and purchasing them in my case would mean 2 or 3 weeks of waiting. So I have decided to try and use what I already have. Stretching your supplies is always an exciting challenge, so as I was making a card, more ideas started to come, and finally I ended up making 3 instead of 1. So I'll be showing you how I made all 3 cards. Let's start with the first one, that is going to be 5 by 7. I'm creating a card base out of neenah white cardstock using the paper trimmer and a scoring board. The color scheme will be the same for all 3 cards. It's the white cardstock, golden mirror cardstock, and also I'll be using the papers from this patterned paper pad by Altenew. I have chosen this purple night sky for all 3 projects. So this is how it fits on top of the card. I'm going to trim this paper, which is 6 by 6 inches, to fit onto my card. I will also be using the trim off piece later on. So now I'm applying some double-sided tape and sticking down this background right on top of the card base. Next I'm going to switch to the gold mirror cardstock and I'm going to use those 3 dies by Paper Discovery. The outline die is 5 by 7, then there is an decorative insert and the inner outline is 4 by 6. I'm sending all 3 dies through the die cut machine and this is the shape that I'm going to get. I have also used only those 2 outline dies to create the white background for this frame, and I've used only the largest die to make a 5 by 7 panel. I'm going to assemble the frame now, so I'm applying some liquid glue at the wrong side of the lacy panel, and then I'm going to attach it to the white background. I'm using large acrylic blocks to hold down the die cuts until the glue dries. Now I'm going to do some die cutting on a white panel as well. I'm placing this frame to know exactly where the die should go. This corner die is from Lattice Corner set, also by Paper Discovery. I'm taping it down to secure it into place and send it through the machine. This is how the die cut looks like. As you probably know, this die can work as the corner, or you can flip it over and die cut it one more time, and this way you can cover up the entire background. You're gonna get a seamless pattern as if it's made by one die. And as always, the tools and supplies I'm using will be listed on my blog as well as in the description box below. I have applied some foam tape at the wrong side of the frame. Now I'm peeling off the liner and I'm going to attach the frame onto the panel. The foam tape itself is by Scotch. Next I'm going to create a sentiment. I'm using the happy word, also by Paper Discovery. I've die cut it 3 times and now I'm layering all 3 die cuts, placing the golden one at the very top. Layering die cuts is a great and very easy way to give more dimension to your projects, and I'm using this technique all the time. I'm going to attach this sentiment to this label die cut that I have created with a die from Vertical Tag Builder set. I'm simply attaching it with a liquid adhesive. Then I'm going to take this piece, apply some liquid glue onto it and attach it closer to the bottom of the lattice panel. Now all there is left to do is to add the focal image, and this is going to be the crescent moon. I don't have a die for crescent moon, so I'm going to use my good old nested circle die set. I'm playing around with circles to find the 2 dies that will be perfect size for my project. I've die cut the circle with the larger die, and now I'm using the smaller one to finish off the crescent moon shape. You can attach this moon to the project just as it is, but I have decided to make it into a moon-shaped window. So I'm using the craft knife to cut along the outline, leaving a very thin border, and this is going to create the moon outline. Since I used the craft knife, the edge is far from being perfect, but it's not a problem since it's going to be covered up later on anyway. So now I'm just sticking down this moon on top of the lattice. I will also be attaching the star, and I've die cut one with the smallest die from Nested Stars die set. This one is by Spellbinders. I'm attaching the star to the lattice just as usual with the liquid glue. Then I'm going to take my scissors and clip off all the lattice that happens to be inside the moon outline. You can also totally use the craft knife. It's better to wait until the glue dries completely, this way the moon outline is not going to shift off. Now the fun part, I'm going to go ahead and attach a crazy amount of pearls onto this project. I'm applying a strand of glue onto the moon outline, and I'm placing the pearls onto that glue one by one. It's really easy to do if you have some kind of a pickup tool. When I'm coming to the end of that glue strand, I'm applying some more glue and keep attaching the pearls until I reach the end of the outline. And as you can see, this is exactly how I'm going to conceal the imperfect edge that I created with the craft knife. And I'm not stopping at this point, since I'm going to attach more pearls onto the lattice. If you like pearls, this die is just for you, since it's giving you lots of spaces for attaching those pearls. So I'm gonna take my time and attach the pearls all over, and then I'm going to apply some double-sided tape at the wrong side of the panel, and I'm attaching it onto the card base. The card front is ready, but I'm also going to use the inside of the card to finish off the sentiment. I'm using the leftover strip of STARRY patterned paper, as well as the alphabet die set by Spellbinders to spell the word Ramadan. I'm positioning all the letters vertically on the inside of the card, and then I'm going to attach them one by one, again using the liquid adhesive. This is how I created the first card. You can have a closer look at it at the end of the video. And now let's move on to the next card. This one is going to be clean and simple. I will need a top folding card base out of white cardstock. This one is 4¼ by 5½ inches. I will also be using the nested rectangles die set. I'm using the die number 2 to die cut the panel out of the same patterned paper. And I'll be also using the die number 3 to die cut another panel out of gold mirror cardstock. I'm sticking down the STARRY panel onto the card base. Each new panel is creating a 1/8 inch border all around the card. You can also use a paper trimmer to cut all the panels. I'm going to create a dome shape or a decorated arch shape on this panel. This set I'm using is called Curvy labels. I'm choosing the one of the right size, placing it at the top of the panel, and then I'm sending it through the die cut machine. I think that a lot of label dies will work for this purpose, so I'm encouraging you to look through your stash. Then I'm going to complete this arch shape by using the rectangle die. Again, I'm playing with the rectangles to choose the right size one. I'm placing it like that. Notice that the corners should go underneath the cardstock. This way they are not going to cut through it. I'm securing the die with the washi tape, sanding it through, and this is what the arch should look like. Now I'm going to take this panel one step further and emboss it. This embossing folder is one of my favorite products ever. It's called Jumbled triangles. It creates a beautiful fractal pattern, and this is how my panel looks like at the moment. Then I'm going to attach it on top of the card, again with the double-sided tape. You can totally leave this panel just as it is, but I thought that I would need just a bit more contrast between the golden panel and the starry sky, and this is the way to do it. I'm using a white gel pen to go all around the outline of the arch on the inside. I'm going slowly to make sure the ink flow is nice. You will see that this thin line really gives a lot of difference, and it really detaches the purple from the gold. Then I'm going to add the focal images as well as the sentiments inside that arch. Again, for the crescent moon, I'm using the same die set, nested circles. And again, I'm choosing the right size. It's exactly the same approach as I used in the previous card. I'm just choosing the smaller dies. Now I'm sticking down the moon onto the card with the liquid glue. I'm also going to add a star, and I have found this star border die by Memory Box, and I'm using that leftover piece of cardstock to die cut the small star. And I'm attaching it just as I did with the moon. Now I just have to attach the sentiment at the bottom of the arch. Since I don't have any supplies for Ramadan, I have decided to use the alphabet die set to spell the word Ramadan. Unfortunately, this die set I'm using now is discontinued at the moment, but you can use any small alphabet die set or stamp set or any alpha stickers. I'm picking up the letters one by one, applying some glue onto them and sticking them back onto their place. Manipulating those small letters is probably the most difficult part of making this card, but I think the result is totally worth it. The word happy I'm going to use is from Spellbinders die set. I've die cut it out of white and gold, and I'm sticking the golden die cut on top, offsetting it a little bit to create the white outline. I'm sticking down the rest of the sentiment onto the card, and that finishes the card number 2. To remind you, I will be showing all 3 projects at the end of the video, and now let's go ahead and create the card number 3, which is also going to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Here is the card base. This one is side folding. I'm going to use this folder by Sizzix to emboss only the card front. I believe the embossing folder is called Tiny Dots. Now I'm going to add my focal image right onto this card front. I'll be using this border die by Spellbinders, and I'm going to use the same pattern paper again. After die cutting the border, I'm not trying to pop out all the negative pieces. On the contrary, I'm going to keep as many of them as possible on their place, because I'm going to need all of them on this card. I'm flipping over this die cut and applying some liquid glue all over the wrong side of it. I'm using the needle applicator bottle this time for precision application. If some of the die cuts fall out, it's not a big problem, just keep them as we are going to attach them all later on. Now I'm placing this border at the top of the card, leaving some space above it to create a sentiment. Now I'm going to apply some glue and I'm inlaying all the negative pieces that happened to fall off. Although the embossing folder creates all those tiny bumps on the cardstock, it's not a problem for attaching the die cuts. When I'm done with the inlaying, I'm going to create the sentiment using the same alpha die set and the same patterned paper. I've stuck down all the papers on top of this border. And now I've die cut the border 3 more times out of white and gold cardstock, and I'm layering all 3 pieces. As a result, this border should look really dimensional, as if it's made of chipboard. Before attaching the border to the card, I'm going to add a few pearl dangles to it. These ones I made myself, but you can go with any ready-to-use charms. I'm opening up a jump ring, putting it through the loop on the charm, and then through that loop shape at the bottom of the border. And then I'm going to close up the jump ring. I really recommend to use 2 pairs of pliers for it. I have attached 1 more dangle exactly the same way at the opposite side. As for the central one, I'm adding 1 more additional jump ring just to make it a little bit longer. And then I'm using the jump ring again to attach it to the loop on the border. Then I'm simply applying the liquid adhesive again at the wrong side of the border, and I'm attaching it to the card just as usual. All the charms will be moving as you are turning the card, so you can even play with it. As a very finishing touch, I'm placing a few more half pearls right onto the golden border. This was the last card for today, and this is how the finished project looks like. This turned out to be quite a long video, but I really hope I have given you some inspiration to look at your stash in a new way and use your old supplies to create something completely new. I would like to say a huge thank you for watching my videos and staying with me. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you again really soon. Bye bye!